Hi, I'm Jim Paxson. Tonight we're going to show you what we're doing to conserve some of Arizona's most iconic and interesting species. From Mexican wolves to bats, golden eagles to native fish. All that and more right now on Arizona Wildlife Views.
Arizona Wildlife Views is brought to you by the sale of hunting and fishing licenses and the Heritage Fund, lottery dollars working for wildlife. Some projects made possible by the Sport Fish and Wildlife Restoration Fund.
Good evening and welcome to our show. Endangered Mexican wolves are making a comeback in Arizona and New Mexico. Come along with us as biologists count Mexican wolves to see if 2014 was a record year.
December 2014 in the White Mountains of Arizona. A trail cam placed near the carcass of an elk records a pack of Mexican wolves showing up for breakfast. It's nothing unusual, yet it's absolutely extraordinary, especially when you consider that Mexican wolves nearly became extinct. By the early 1970s, there were 0 wild Mexican wolves in the United States, and only a smattering could still be found in Mexico. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service listed the Mexican wolf as an endangered species in 1976. Today, Mexican wolves are making a comeback in Arizona and New Mexico thanks to a captive breeding program and a reintroduction project that's been releasing and managing wolves since 1998. It's a partnership between the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Arizona Game and Fish Department, the Forest Service, the White Mountain Apache Tribe, and the USDA Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service. From the get-go, the goal was a self-sustaining population of at least 100 wolves by 2006.
It's taken us almost 10 years after that to even come close to that number.
Go find a location on Rim, go find Tseowa. Ole, you're going to be over there on White Mountain.
Jeff Dolphin is team leader for Arizona Game and Fish on the interagency field team, which does the day-to-day management of this experimental population of Mexican wolves.
Does anybody not know what they're doing tomorrow?
At the end of each year, the team does a population survey to find out how many wolves are living in the wild.
That's 10 animals. We're just trying to find 1331.
The front seat can just turn the antenna and find the wolf just by turning it that way.
They use radio telemetry to search for wolves wearing radio collars. When they find a wolf without a collar or one that needs a new one, they may try to capture it. Chasing wolves through tall trees in a helicopter is difficult.
It's probably some of the most demanding flying I do, just between the terrain, the trees, and trying to follow a running wolf through the trees without running into anything. So it's very demanding.
And sticking it with a tranquilizer dart is never easy.
I'm looking out of the helicopter, our muggers on the side, trying to locate the wolves with the radio telemetry.
What you're witnessing is wildlife management in action. It's unbelievably challenging.
You just got to be patient and persistent.
And it's infinitely rewarding.
All of these wolves right now are wild-born, wild-raised, and they're surviving on their own. They're not needing help to survive from us. They're doing what we want them to do, but we're really seeing a dramatic incline in the population right now.
When a wolf is delivered, the processing team goes to work immediately.
Who's doing the microchips?
This animal came in pretty hot from the chase and everything else, and through the IV fluids and cold packs, we've actually got her temperature back down to normal.
The team documents the wolf's physical characteristics. It provides immunizations, monitors vital signs, and does any doctoring that's needed.
So this is pretty much a resolving bite wound.
The priority is to get the animal collared and back into the wild as soon and as safely as possible. For 3 straight years, the Mexican wolf population has increased by at least 10%. But this year's count was better than ever. The 2014 Mexican wolf population survey documented a minimum of 109 wolves in the wild, a 31% increase that finally broke the century mark.
We're busting at the seams with wolves right now for this recovery area.
With 19 packs and 38 pups, the future is bright for Mexican wolves, and it's only getting brighter. In 2015, big changes to the rules governing the recovery efforts gave Mexican wolves more room to roam. The area they're allowed to occupy in Arizona and New Mexico grew from 7,000 to more than 150,000 square miles. And the goal for the number of wolves more than tripled, from 100 to as many as 325. It's a number the project partners believe will give the wolves the greatest chance of success. A number that strikes a balance between the wolf population, available prey resources, and public acceptance. A number that ensures the Mexican wolf's comeback continues. These are not birds or insects. They're bats, the only mammal that can truly fly. And this is a huge colony of Mexican free-tailed bats in Mojave County. It's one of Arizona's 28 species of bats. Some live in abandoned mines and caves, while others prefer the forest.
Yeah, I tagged 2 down at this hawk's nest, or tagged 3, so he should be down there looking for them.
Aaron Saunders is a Northern Arizona University graduate student of forestry who's studying the bats of eastern Arizona that live in dead or dying trees.
Here, these bats are really small. They're maybe the size of 2 or 3 Hershey's Kisses.
With that kind of comparison, you might have guessed that Aaron is sweet on bats.
I just love bats. I think they're probably the neatest mammal.
Now, not everyone shares her passion.
No, not even a little bit.
But Saunders just might change their minds.
Actually, their guano, their poop is great for gardening. If you have a vegetable garden, it's a really great fertilizer. So there's some really cool things that they can do for you.
For instance, free pest control. In fact, some bats consume their body weight in bugs each and every night. Bats also pollinate agave, the plant used to make tequila.
So if you like margaritas.
I told you she was persuasive.
I can usually get people to change their mind about bats after chatting with them and getting them out here for the Bat Blitz.
Do we have a bag?
Oh, yeah.
Ah, the Bat Blitz.
7 bats were tagged last night.
It's a week of bat bliss for dozens of volunteers.
Yeah, they're here for the bats.
I'm glad you could come out.
Yeah, they're here to help us work on this project and to locate a lot of roosts in a short amount of time.
They're helping Aaron and NAU forestry professor Carol Chambers with a field study of tree roosting bats in the forests surrounding the town of Alpine. They want to find out how bats react when their habitat is badly burned by wildfire. And this is the perfect laboratory. In 2011, the Wallow Fire scorched more than 500,000 acres of ponderosa pine forest, making it the largest wildfire in state history.
So the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest has funded us to come out here and find these bats, mist net, put transmitters on them, and then track them to their roosts and see what kind of trees they're using. So are they using fire-killed snags, or are they using unburned snags? So, and a snag is a dead tree that's standing.
I'm guessing the bats are coming down drainage, and then they'll be approaching through here.
The Arizona Game and Fish Department is an important partner in this project.
Not anybody can go and put up nets and catch bats. You have to have a permit. Bats are protected by law, and therefore we're here to assist them by going to multiple sites on the same night and catch as many of the target species that they're looking at.
People want to know about how bat populations are doing, and it's just very difficult sometimes to answer some of these questions. The age we live in, where so much information is at our fingertips, it seems like we would know, but there's so much that we don't know about bats. And it's one of the reasons I really enjoy studying them, because they're just such interesting creatures. They're challenging to study. You know, if you think about it, you've probably never seen a bat up close unless you're out netting them like this.
This is what we call a triple high net.
The plan is to place mist nets near sources of water that bats are likely to visit after sundown.
The bat comes down to drink, gets caught in our net. And that's the whole idea around mist netting for bats. Bats certainly can echolocate depending on the surface area that's there. Any kind of movement, any kind of clumping of the net gives more surface area for the bat to detect during the echolocation. So what you're trying to do is get the net stretched where you have the least amount of surface area for that echo to hit, or the sound to hit and the echo to come back.
With nets in place, the various teams now must wait for nightfall.
I think this is a good site. I like it. We catch a bat, we're gonna take the bat out of the net. And this is a big brown bat. The scientific name is Ptescus fuscus. We always say fussy fuscus because they chatter a lot when they're caught. We're gonna take it up to the processing station. Bat number 1. We're gonna process it, so what we're taking is a forearm measurement.
They record data for every bat that's captured.
We sex it, we identify it to species. This is Allen's lappet-browed. Oversized ears. So hoary bat. They're one of the Halloween bats, so very orange wings. We weigh it, we look at the overall health condition. You have an elbow down here out to a wrist, you have a thumb, and then the elongated fingers that make up the wing membrane. They knock insects, they knock them with their wings down into that, they catch them in this net, pull it up and eat it, all in flight. I'm gonna need a swab on it.
For some species, they use a buccal swab to collect DNA.
Can't be fun.
The primary goal is to attach tiny radio transmitters to certain reproductive females.
It's like wearing a little backpack, although it's glued on. You're free, and he's off.
The transmitter allows researchers to use radio telemetry to track the bat back to its maternity roost. That way they can see what types of trees and surrounding habitat the bats are using.
And we're finding that bats are using burned trees.
The results of this study indicate that wildfires, at least in the short term, do not appear to have a major impact on bats. In fact, some species seem to prefer living in the burned parts of the forest.
We can give that information to the forest to set management recommendations.
It's information that may help the Forest Service decide how to go about removing burned and hazardous trees.
This is just the first piece of a potentially very large project in the future.
Aaron says there's much more to learn and plenty of reasons to care about bats.
There's just so many cool things that they do for our ecosystem that I don't think people realize.
This good guy, you were very cooperative, thank you.
So I think they're a lot nicer than people think they are.
More than 1,000 sick and injured animals get brought to Adobe Mountain Wildlife Rehabilitation Center every year. This is the story of 3 golden eagles.
There was a male that came from Yuma. We found that it most likely was hit by a car because of the injuries to its feet and one wing. Totally releasable, but down on food, so we had to keep it to bring its food up. And then when we had that eagle, there was an eagle in Tucson.
The second eagle was brought to the Tucson Wildlife Center.
Some bat researchers were walking the Aravaipa Canyon, and they found an eagle on the ground about 4 miles, actually probably about 8 miles in, and the eagle couldn't fly. So they assumed it was injured, and they brought it out of the canyon and delivered it to us. Unfortunately, I think this was a nestling that had just fledged and jumped off the cliff, and there he is sitting on the ground, his first flight, so to speak, out of the nest. And now he's just sitting there walking around like normal fledglings do when they jump out of their nest. If we released this eagle by herself with no skills, even if we live hunted her, it wouldn't be enough. She really needs to be with an older eagle, other eagles, where she can follow them and watch them and steal food, maybe actually do some hunting on her own. It will take a while for her to learn how to survive, and she'll do it better with another older eagle or a group of eagles.
To give this eagle a better chance for survival, Jerry Ostwinkle and Mike Demlong are bringing the bird to Adobe Mountain to meet its new mentor, as well as several turkey vultures.
The golden eagle, when it's introduced to these vultures, this is how it gets its food, and it takes it about a week before it'll even challenge the vultures that we have in the flight pens with it. It'll starve itself down pretty far before it gets enough nerve to go challenge those turkey vultures.
The hope is this young eagle will learn to look for turkey vultures to lead it to food in the wild. Adobe Mountain soon gets another new visitor, a golden eagle that was brought in from Chino Valley.
Let's record this number real quick. Yeah, what you put.
Watch your face, guys.
It's 0709-02320. It's a, it looks like it's a Fish and Wildlife Service band.
Feel the kill.
Was there any,
yeah,
it's a perfect flying weight.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and take this wing out. Let's examine that wing.
I don't know. There's nothing. No, that's joint. Okay, I don't like this here.
I'm sorry, that's from the crate.
Okay.
Okay, that one's good.
What happens is it comes to the center, we do an evaluation and examine the bird. What we found was pretty interesting. The bird was heavy on weight, which makes us think that it had an injury, but then it came out that it did not have an injury. So after talking to the hunter, it simply exhausted itself in his presence, and he thought the best thing to do was to pick it up.
Is he laying down, Jerry? Okay. Did they have information on the person, the finder? So we might want to give him a call.
It was a hunter in Unit 17A that found the bird down. Actually, the bird was couldn't move. It couldn't stand when he was able to capture it.
Okay, now I don't
wrap his T-shirt around.
Oh wait, it couldn't stand?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's left.
Yeah.
Very good, because right now the bird's got a lot of weight.
Do we have a purple top we can pull some blood?
Yeah, we need to pull some.
So Tegan, for the report, it's in good weight. No obvious signs of infection, broken bones.
A little bit tacky, but nothing else. Excellent condition.
Yeah, looks good.
According to the leg band information, this eagle was hatched in Oregon just last year.
You just squeeze this to get one drop.
Because it couldn't stand when it was found, the team suspects it might be a victim of lead poisoning, so they administer a blood test.
Now we wait 3 minutes. 7.5 UGDL. Okay, Sandy and I just did our first test with the Lead Care 2 kit on a golden eagle that was brought in, and it registers 7.5, looks like micrograms per liter. Micrograms per deciliter? Yeah, per deciliter. Is that good or bad? That's great? Good news.
We did a lead testing, which the lead came back normal. So put it in the flight pen, it was able to fly. Good even wings, good tail. That tells me that there is no injury, so we'll watch it for a couple days, see if it elevates its height in the flight pen. We have 2 other eagles in there that are due for release in about 3 weeks, and hopefully we'll send this one out with them or close to them.
Not all injured animals brought to the Wildlife Center are releasable after rehabilitation. Tika, another golden eagle, was a resident of Adobe Mountain for about 7 years. Because of her broken wing, she was unable to be released back into the wild. These days, she has a home at the Heritage Park Zoological Sanctuary in Prescott.
Positioned right here.
The big day finally arrives, and a large group has gathered to see these three off.
Okay, there you go. Okay, Nate, follow me.
All right, big girl. Here comes the big cannon. Get her out. Oh, there she goes. Look at that. Oh yeah. They see Oregon. Yeah, that golden eagle, it took off. It's just enjoying life. It's running around this country trying to figure out what it wants to do, who it wants to be. Who knows where she went.
An endangered little bulldog of a fish took another step toward recovery recently when over 300 desert pupfish were released into a refuge pond on the Red Mountain campus of Mesa Community College.
It's insurance against the extinction of the population, and insurance, if we do it right, maintaining the genetic integrity and the variation in the species, so that we're preserving the species and not just a small piece of the species.
This small native fish is one of 36 species that lived in Arizona waters prior to the territory being settled. They now only inhabit a fraction of their historic range, mainly due to water diversion and groundwater pumping.
Current status is that they're endangered. I think at this time we've got 22 properties enrolled under the Safe Harbor Agreement that will lead towards meeting our goal for the downlisting of pupfish at this time.
The Safe Harbor Agreement allows non-federal landowners to have an endangered species on their property without restricting the normal operations of their land or business. In this case, Mesa Community College built this replica of a natural Arizona stream to serve as both a wildlife refuge and an educational opportunity for students.
They're kind of like a little bulldog. They're stout, short. The males are very territorial early on in the year, and they defend their territory throughout the year. Females come in, look the males over, and decide whether or not that male's good enough for them, and if so, she'll go in and lay her egg, and the male succeeded in his little strategy there. But they're very aggressive towards other fish and towards other members of their own species. And it's quite a lot of fun watching them.
I've been here before it was built and all that, so I started as a student worker, and I've been here for almost, I think, 6 years now. And so it's kind of cool for me starting as a student. I've worked my way into a position that gets to actually have hands-on wildlife conservation experience.
Here at MCC, we absolutely want them to remain involved. Part of the project that we're looking at for future management of the species is making sure that MCC gets something more out of it than just providing us with a place to a refuge population. In this case, we're hoping to help develop a curricula that they can actually do some basic statistics on these populations that can be used in the classroom, and so they can be exposed to some of the management techniques that would regularly be used in management of threatened and endangered, or all wildlife for that matter, or all fisheries.
Partnerships are the key to helping recover Arizona's native wildlife species that are in peril. These desert pupfish were raised at the Phoenix Zoo and released by Arizona Game and Fish into waters created by a community college. If all goes well, the offspring of these pupfish will be relocated to yet another pond, helping to ensure the long-term survival of these small but mighty fish.
Well, that's our show for tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. For more information, go to our website at azgfd.gov. For all the fine folks at Arizona Game and Fish, I'm Jim Paxson. We'll see you next time.